Hey, what's up everybody? BDF 44 coming at you with another video. Alright, so I'm leaving the house as late as I ever have. It's 3:15. Laker game starts at 7, and I'm just now leaving the house. It was one of them situations where I was just listening to my body. Woke up this morning, did all my regular stuff, working out, squatting and all that stuff. Ate breakfast, did about 8 art pieces. And I just felt exhausted, and I said a prayer about it, and I was like, all right, well, I guess I'll go listen to my body and go to sleep. Went to sleep till about 2:30. Woke up, and they said, all right, it's time to get out of here. Like, that's literally how that went. I didn't want to stay in the house any longer. It was stuffy in there. I didn't want to just jump into my my hundreds, because I really wanted some air. That's really what it's about for me, and some fresh air. So if I have time to do them when I get back, then I might. But otherwise, I think this will be my exercise for that today, and then I'll just get back to the normal routine tomorrow. But it was all about listening to the body today, man. That's really what it was about. I didn't feel all that great, but I feel better now, man. Now I just need to exercise. Now it's about getting the sunlight that I missed out on, so that's what I'm doing. But figured I just walked out to Trader Joe's, the local one, which is a nice long walk. About more than an hour or two, an hour back, so ain't nothing to it. I'm just I don't actually really even need anything from over there. I just want the air and want the exercise. So yeah, that's really what's on my mind, just giving people an update. Thought the art pieces I've done were pretty good. Did some yesterday, did a playlist last night, basically R&B music. Since I hadn't done one in 2 weeks, I had 2 weeks worth of music, new music to sort through. So it gave me, I think, just overall a pretty good quality playlist. And I still have more to make, given the fact there's so much music. But it's a good one. Delicity 384. I was going for something with the art and didn't quite get what I was going for, to be honest with you. So I wasn't overly excited about that artwork, but hey man, the music is what it's really about, and I think it's a good playlist to turn on at 3 a.m. When you got a significant other with you. It's one of those. So yeah, man, otherwise I'm in good spirits. Ain't no bad energy at all. I just decided to get the rest that my body was telling me I needed. I think because I stayed up so late making the playlist, it was one of those situations where I just felt exhausted. A lot of push-ups have been done, so my back felt like it needed to heal up a little bit. So it was just little stuff like that. I was like, you know what, I'll listen to the body. I'll do what I'm supposed to do. I'll relax, and then when it's time to get up, I won't hesitate to leave the house and get the exercise that I otherwise would have gotten. Glad the game starts at 7, so I ain't gotta try to force myself to stick around to watch it. I can still get this exercise. So that's what this is. And yeah, man, just thinking about people who are going through things. You know, I'm looking at this situation in Palestine as always, and it's a lot of stuff going on. Columbia University particularly is trying to, you know, the students are taking a stand today. And it's a good look, man. It's a good look. These are privileged individuals who likely have a path to being in a position of power when they leave school, and they're sacrificing a lot of what otherwise their privilege would be, stepping on some toes that would otherwise allow them to get to their path properly, to stand up for people who are poor, who are suffering genocide. And that's really what we need in this life, man. Every time white supremacy stands against people of color in any walk of life, in any way, what's usually forces the change are people of privilege who happen to have white skin in a lot of cases, standing up against it and sacrificing whatever they have in that day to not only raise awareness, but to take a stand against it. And we've seen that in many different ways, and we're seeing it today for the people of Palestine in regards to Columbia University and several others as well. They're not the only one, but Columbia is the one that's the biggest name making a loud noise right now, because they have the university itself is taking a strong stance for Israel and pro-Zionism, and the students themselves, a good portion of them, are taking a strong stance against it. So it's just a unique sight. Well, I ain't gonna say unique. We've seen these type of things before, but it's necessary. It's a wonderful sight for those young people who are going to be controlling the world tomorrow, taking a stance against evil today, saying that they ain't going for it, that they believe that human life is worth saving, whether they can contribute to any type of wealth or not, man. And I believe that a lot of people who white supremacy steps on can contribute. They just don't allow them to, for reasons that hate, nothing else. You can educate everybody. There are geniuses everywhere. And I think that there's some fantastic scholars amongst those children who have been slaughtered, who have been displaced, who have had pieces of their body taken off of them with these bombs that have been coming their way. Some of them could be surgeons, doctors, scholars of many kinds, man, artists. I mean, you can't let capitalism determine who's important before they get a chance to spread their wings and actually be human beings. It's a severely flawed science that it goes by. It looks at what's going on now and it determines what's important to itself. It looks at its own biases and determines what it will accept and what it will not. It does not actually tell the story of what the organism will grow to be and how necessary that organism will be to the world or even itself for the maintaining of its own, how important a certain surgeon or a certain scholar or a certain artist could be to keeping up what they have going. It just doesn't vet that at all. It just says, oh, they're over there, they're from over there, let's treat them this way. Oh, these folks from over here, we appreciate us, let's take care of us. It's like, that doesn't vet anything. That doesn't actually tell the story about what a future holds for any damn thing. It tries to mold that future to be what it is based on those very broad sets of criteria. And it's a flawed science. I don't care if you're behind it or not. You got to understand where I'm coming from. It doesn't tell a story about anything. It really doesn't. Skin color doesn't tell you nothing. Region tells you even less. They're from over here, oh, then they're worth something. That doesn't tell you nothing. And so I just think that it works in a way that it deteriorates itself, man. It deteriorates its own reputation. It weaponizes its actions against its own people and its own children. People look at them and say, yo, these are evil people. Let's stay away from them. All different types of stuff that it really does. It shows itself to be comfortable living in its own hypocrisy. It's a bad organism on the earth. It does math improperly and then it lives in those spaces comfortably. And it needs to stop, man. White supremacy and Zionism needs to stop. And it is coming to an end, because what you're finding out is the next generation of scholars and white people don't necessarily accept it across the board, and it needs that acceptance. It needs to continue to be able to vilify its enemies so that it can have overwhelming support for its attacks. You know, I was listening to something today. It was saying Islamophobia is at an all-time high, while they're talking about, anti-Semitism is at an all-time high. Well, the reality is anti-Semitism is not at an all-time high. It's just the broadening of the definition of anti-Semitism. What is probably at an all-time high is Islamophobia. Anything against Islamics peoples. Which doesn't even really tell the story of what's happening in Gaza, because all different types of people are being destroyed in Gaza. But Islamophobia, because of the Zionist war against it, you got a lot of people who will back that violently. All over the states, all over the Western world. They back that because by way of who they are and what it is that they naturally support, they're gonna go toward what white supremacy is all about, which is the deterioration of brown and black people of many kinds. And they always find themselves looking like devils when they behave in violent ways against people that they've determined by way of what it is their definitions are terrorists. When the reality is the behavior of terrorism is what they engage in when they terrorize these individuals who happen to be Islamic or Christian or whatever, brown or black or however. And they make other white people who are not about that look bad. They make other white people who want to fight against that look as if they're not interested in fighting against that, just by sheer nature of looking like them. Just like a black person doing something in a way they shouldn't will make it look as if I'm trying to be something I'm not, just by the sheer nature as I look like them. Reality is, it's always going to want, white supremacy is always going to want to first smear the reputation and the image of what it is it wants to attack. Then when it has support, then it will go forward and attack without having to worry about the backlash for which it cannot, for some reason, comfortably absorb. It must appear dignified and balanced while simultaneously living in this hypocrisy of this everything but dignified and imbalanced behavior. And so I'm proud of all of those kids in Colombia stepping up to the plate and not letting it happen this time. Not letting that for which makes them look bad continue to be the only voice that's heard. I say the same thing to my Jewish brothers and sisters. This is a big day. It's a big day. We're in big times, man, for their people. And it just needs to be understood that not everybody in Israel is pro-Zionism, pro-killing, pro-destroying of lives, or none of that. But at the same time, it's such a vast propaganda in their country and such an indoctrined propaganda in their country that too many, however that number is, too many support it. And that's where education and enlightenment needs to be found. It is necessary that the enlightenment of people underneath the guise of being independent in their thought within evil, because that's all it is. It's not independent thought. They just moving with what they're taught. It's time for the enlightenment of those people. It's time for the enlightenment of all people. The U.S., we need enlightenment. We're stuck in certain things in regards to how we move politically, and how we treat one another, in regards to how our art represents various different peoples around us, and how we view those people in regards to treating people whose land have been stolen from them. We need enlightenment in regards to how we move about in regards to consumerism, capitalism, and how necessary it may be going forward for our lives, and how well it will vet through what it is that is necessary, for which it doesn't vet those things very well. We need enlightenment in the Western world, man, because we influence others greatly. And we can see that we have a heart that's better than what it is that's being described in regards to us. Our heart is better than that. You can see that in Colombia. You can see that on 9/11 when we came together many years ago. You can see that in various different situations where good people step up. So it's not just as simple as, oh, U.S. is the worst thing in the world. Oh, England's the worst place in the world. No, they're good people represented under these umbrellas of bad energy, man. And we got to learn to define ourselves individually and collectively as something greater than what our government defines us as, greater than what art defines us as, when it tells the story of me being a gangster, or you being a criminal, or you being whatever it tells the world you are. And invested in art that tells the world who I am, but doesn't properly define what I'm about, may have even molded me to mimic that for which it wanted me to describe in my behavior for a time, until I grew to learn who I was and who I was not. We need to allow our kids to reach those places of self-enlightenment sooner. They shouldn't have celebrities telling them who they are and what it is they should want, who they are and what it is that ultimately they should be going after, who they are and what it is that otherwise they should hate or obsess over or love or what have you. Self-enlightenment and free thought is important, and we are being robbed of that. Our grandparents have been robbed of that under the righteous flag of whatever our country is. In a lot of cases, it's the same copy and paste propaganda. We love us, and we're gonna get ours. And anybody that we're friends with, they can do whatever they want to do. If they are our allies, we will stand behind them, right or wrong. That's evil. That's political evil, man. If someone wants to destroy a child, then that someone should be given whatever the penalty is for destroying children. They should not be able to comfortably nestle themselves in between politics by way of capitalism. They should not be able to do that anymore. And I don't care how intricate the game of Jenga actually is, it's a game that needs to be destroyed for the betterment of those who need to live, which is all of us. Humanize people that have been demonized by evil. And that's what it is that I'm most proud of in seeing not only people of Palestinian races being humanized by individuals who are standing up for them and showing images and photos of them being normal, but also the notion that the same could be done for others who we've long thought were something that were other than our brothers and our sisters. Mexican people who they told us to stay away from and to build huge walls and borders and not care if they have no way to safety, whether they're coming from impoverished areas trying to head to safety or not. We've allowed Zionist supremacy to kick them out of their own land and then proceed to demonize them and make it impossible for them to unite with their families in places that actually hold their roots. That's a colonizing way of doing things. You come from a different place too, colonizer. And yet you want to tell people who are from the soil from which you come that they don't have a right to stand there with their families, that they don't have a right to move about these places just because you stuck your flag there and put your guns up and shot some people. Now they got to get paid a tenth of what it is they should be getting for the work that they do, let alone at the land that you stole. These people should be rich. We're going to normalize having those type of conversations based on what it is we're seeing with the Palestinian circumstance and how it is parallel to so many others. What's going on in Congo? You got children, small children, being murdered and tortured and overworked just so that we can get diamonds and various different things for the phone that I hold. That is wrong, man. It's literally okay to point that out. We're going to normalize pointing that out. And so that's what the sacrifice of the great Palestinian people is all about, unfortunately. The sacrifice is about waking all of us up, humanizing everybody, questioning those who vilify and demonize their enemies by way of what it is they control, and bringing back some dignity to humanity itself. That is important to me personally, as a person who's grown in this era, alive and a grown man in this era. My humanity has been tainted and stolen by the image that has been molded and the seeds of evil that have been planted in my people by way of those demons who are doing the same to those Palestinians. They invest in the deterioration of my people. They invest long-term in the folly of our image. And anytime someone sees me, they have to question whether or not I'm a part of what it is that I am not, just because of what has been put in place long before I even got here, to determine that they shouldn't trust me, to determine that I'm going to steal for them, to determine that I'm in a desperate space for which likely I was forced into, if I am, that would otherwise make it so that I would have taken from those who are more interested in taking from me. Are you backing up? Trying to make sure I know. So that's really what it comes down to. If anything, I'm just trying to humanize others, and by way of that action, others will humanize me. Others will look at me for what it is that's going on inside of me, instead of what it is that you've been told about what's going on in regards to what's outer, the appearance. You got people who've stolen from my people, clutching their purses when they walk past me, because that's how perverted the image of what it is that they have molded themselves to be versus us actually is. If anything, I should be crossing the street when I see them. They've done nothing but steal from not only my people, but every woman and man who look brown of some sort has been tainted by these individuals. And yet, because they've been lied to about who they are versus who we are, we get vilified as if we're the bad guys. But isn't that the same thing they do to the Palestinians and the Islamic people? They tell you they're terrorists. Well, if you listen to the bad guy tell the story, of course he's going to mold his enemies, of whom he's torturing, and the people he's trying to victimize, to be the bad guys. And he's going to mold himself to be the victim. And if you're dumb, you're going to buy that and ignore the behavior that he shows you repeatedly. My Caucasian friends have a long way to go to undo the evil that their ancestors and that their cousins have been doing on this earth for a long time. You got a long way to go to undo that, man. Because we're still suffering the evils of that energy. As people wake up to what that energy is, I worry about what the world is going to be for those people. When we undo a lot of this nonsense and learn to love ourselves and learn to love one another, and learn to love the melanin in our skin, and learn to earn the respect of those who stand on the sideline watching, trying to determine who's who, I worry about what the world looks like when we finally come to a place where we're no longer confused. I don't think the world's going to be a very good place for those people. I really don't. Especially if they wave blue and white flags with stars on them. I don't think the world's going to be very good to them. I really don't. And there are a lot of good people who do that, but unfortunately it does not matter, because once you start the process of making yourself look bad, take it from somebody who's living through it, it's hard to shake that off. Even if you didn't place it upon yourself, it's hard to shake that off. It's hard to get people to know that you're not a certain way until you actually spend time with them, and they have to allow you to get close enough to them. And while they do so, you got to feel the energy of them doubting you, not trusting you, and ultimately expecting the worst of you while that process is in play. See, as a black person, we deal with that every day. And I think it's going to be inverted. It's going to be turned around over the next 100 years. So that's really what I had to say, man. This was on my mind. I think that's what the Lord wanted me to get out the house to talk about. I don't know if I articulated all the thoughts I had in regards to this conversation. I'm pretty sure I did not. But it just goes to show you, man. The world is changing. People aren't thinking the same way they used to think. People aren't moving the same way they used to. It's not just a foregone conclusion that just because a person is a certain way that they're going to feel a certain way, or that they're going to just go along with whatever everybody else gets along with. We've seen too much in this era over the last 9 months. Now we have to question the people who've been doing this and everything they've taught us. Everything that they've told us about who they don't trust and who they hate and what it is they invest in. And you have to think about how much poisonous it could possibly be when you consider what it is that they're doing here. Every celebrity they've ever invested in? What was the energy behind that celebrity being wealthy? What were they agreeing to tell us and about each other? What were they trying to distract us from? What did you pay them to do? Besides what it is that they were talented enough to accomplish. Ask the question now. Since we don't trust you, we have to now enlighten ourselves to the understanding that we could never have trusted what you put in front of us. And you told us that Gaddafi was an evil man. I'm starting to realize Gaddafi was just against you. You told me that Bin Laden was an evil man. I'm starting to realize Bin Laden was trying to wake all of us up. You told me he bombed 9/11. Well, I have reasons to believe that that was an inside job. Good reasons, considering what I'm seeing in Israel. I know it wasn't the Israeli that did that. /US/ you know what I mean? The Zionists. Israel's just the hub for Zionism. That's all it is. We know that. And so I ask all of you guys, am I supposed to continue to believe that what was told to me years ago is what it is right now? Am I supposed to believe that all of these different wars that we were a part of were actually just in nature and that we were fighting terrorists? Or do I have to revisit some of those teachings and some of those thoughts? Some of those people they told us that were horrible and we were supporting the bombing of those people and sending our kids over to die so that they could fight those wars. Now we're starting to realize the bad guys were on the side we were on. As if the behavior that we've seen over the last 400 years of stealing people's land and enslaving people didn't already give us a hint. For whatever reason, we're waking up now. So that's what I'm asking everybody. Are we just going to assume that the lying just started right now? Or the vilifying of people of color, that's just a byproduct of just the times, and now we're finally starting to wake up and this is when we start to mistrust some of the stuff that's in front of us? Nah, man, we got to go back in history, start looking at some of these things. That's the only thing that makes sense. They made Bin Laden look like a horrible human being, but if you've read Letter to America, then you realize he was just warning you about these human beings who were doing these things, trying to make you feel like you need to purchase stuff that is only meant to deteriorate your soul and your mind and make you less close to your faith, less close to the purity of what can otherwise not be compromised within yourself. That's what the Letter to America was about. You trying to tell me this was a bad guy? He's trying to wake me up to what it is that I'm waking up to right now. See, these are the type of things that we have to consider as Americans. These are the type of things they're trying to silence people all over the world to keep from thinking. But it's right in our face, just like the hints that I just referred to were right in our face. You can clearly see that these were horrible human beings. They enslaved enough people. They enslaved the Native Americans. They pushed the Mexicans out of their land. They did horrible things to the Irish. I mean, how much do we need to see? How much do we need to see before we start to realize these were the bad people indeed, man? So now when people want to say, oh, I'm pro this, oh, I'm Zionist, like, buddy, you're a bad guy. You support the slaughtering of human beings. You support the slaughtering of innocent people. You support the slaughtering of children for the betterment of your own whatever the hell. In a lot of cases, it ain't even your safety that's on the line. You're just doing it because it frees your mind. Get off on it. It's wickedness. Unprovoked wickedness, man. And so that's what I'm saying to all of you guys. We need to wake up to the understanding that unprovoked wickedness is what drives a lot of those who've told us whatever it is that we truly believe about one another. Unprovoked wickedness. Unprovoked. And they determine what they feel is wicked. And they tell you who's horrible. And they do all of these horrible things in the name of that. Maybe they believe their own lies, maybe they don't. But their confusion should no longer be our illusion. We see clearly, man. BDF 44, I thank you all for watching. I'm out.